All right, today we're jumping in our time machine and heading way, way back, over 2,000 years actually. We're gonna meet the guy who basically invented a whole new way of looking at the past. His name? Herodotus. And he didn't just tell stories, he asked a question that changed, well, everything. Why? So let's get into it.
So you've probably heard this title thrown around, right? The father of history. But what does that even mean? I mean, that's a pretty big deal. Before Herodotus, the past was all about epic poems, like Homer's stories of gods and heroes, or maybe just simple lists of kings and dates. Nobody was really trying to systematically investigate and explain it all. So what did this one guy do that was so revolutionary?
Okay, to get that answer, we've got to look at the man himself and his absolutely massive project. Herodotus was born back in the 5th century BCE. And get this, he was from a Greek city that was actually under Persian rule. That gave him this really unique kind of insider-outsider perspective on the whole world. And he gave himself a task that, believe me, no one had ever tried before. And this quote from his work really lays out his whole mission. He said he set out to ensure the great deeds of men would not be forgotten, and to explain the causes of their conflict. You see the two parts there? The first bit, not be forgotten, that's about preserving memory, kind of like the old storytellers. But that second part, explain the causes, that is the game changer. He wasn't just writing things down, he was an investigator trying to figure out the real reasons behind everything. And man, did he pick a heck of a subject. He decided to focus on the biggest, most defining conflict of his time, the Persian Wars. We're not talking about some small local skirmish here. This was a massive, world-spanning war between the largest empire the planet had ever seen and this collection of tiny, scrappy Greek city-states. But for Herodotus, this was never just about armies and battles. He saw the Persian Wars as something way deeper. He saw it as a fundamental collision of two completely different worlds, two different ways of life, really two different ideas about what the future of humanity should look like.
And this right here, this gets to the absolute core of that clash. On one side, you've got the Greeks. They're split up into dozens of independent city-states, always squabbling with each other, but they valued their freedom more than anything. Then, on the other side, you have the Persian Empire, this enormous, unified machine, all centrally controlled by one all-powerful king. For Herodotus, this political divide wasn't just some background detail. Nope, he saw it as one of the main reasons the war even happened. And Herodotus documented all the huge moments of this war so carefully. You've got the Ionian Revolt that kicked the whole thing off, the incredible Athenian victory at Marathon, of course the legendary stand of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae, and the massive, decisive naval battle at Salamis. His writing gives us the most complete picture we have of this absolutely epic conflict. Look, writing down what happened in these battles was one thing. A big thing, sure. But what really made Herodotus different was his obsession with understanding why they happened. He was never satisfied with just saying, and then they fought a battle. He had to know the deeper reasons. And this gets to the absolute heart of his innovation. He basically pioneered the whole concept of historical causation. He believed the Persian Wars didn't just pop up out of thin air. No, they were the end result of a long chain of events, of decisions, of cultural attitudes that stretched back for generations. He was the first person to really dig that deep, to connect the dots from the past to explain what was happening in his present. So to run this investigation, he basically invented a whole new toolkit. He traveled all over the place, he interviewed eyewitnesses, he collected stories. He was kind of a historian, part anthropologist, and part investigative journalist all rolled into one. He wasn't just looking at official records, he was exploring entire cultures, recording what people said, and trying to figure out the human motivations on both sides of the fight. And this is where he just completely broke the mold. Think about it. In an age where most Greeks just dismissed anyone who wasn't Greek as a barbarian, Herodotus spent huge parts of his book trying to understand Persian, Egyptian, and other cultures on their own terms. That kind of intellectual open-mindedness was practically unheard of, and it's why his work gives us this incredible, invaluable window into the ancient world. He also knew how to tell a killer story. For example, to explain what kicked off that Ionian Revolt, he shares this wild anecdote. A Greek leader was stuck in the Persian court and needed to send a secret message to start a rebellion. So what does he do? He takes a slave, shaves his head, tattoos the secret message right onto his scalp, and then just waits for the hair to grow back. Then he sends the slave on his way, and the recipient just has to shave his head again to read it.
Now, whether that actually happened or not isn't really the point. It's a brilliant way to capture the high-stakes spying and plotting of the time, and it makes his history something you just can't forget.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? What's the lasting impact of this one man's incredible work? Well, it's pretty profound, and it actually shapes how we see the world even today.
Think about this. The whole framework Herodotus created, this idea of the free, democratic West standing against the big, autocratic East, has become one of the most powerful and long-lasting stories in all of history. That very concept, which you still hear in global politics today, really has its roots right here, in his telling of the Persian Wars.
But his greatest legacy? It's his method. This is the absolute heart of it all. Herodotus is the one who invented the discipline of history as an investigation. He taught us that the past isn't just a list of facts you have to memorize. It's a series of puzzles that you have to solve. His truly great invention was the simple, powerful question, why?
And that's why he gets the title. For all of this, for being the first person to really hunt for causes, to investigate other cultures with an open mind, and to turn simple storytelling into a rational investigation. Herodotus absolutely earned his title. He is, no question, the father of history. And that leaves us with one last thought. Herodotus taught us that if we want to understand our own time, we have to look into the causes that brought us here. So if we follow his example, what are the deep-rooted whys behind the biggest conflicts and changes happening in our world right now? That's a question he definitely would have loved.